Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tony from Digital Corals tonight. How you doing, Tony?
Yeah, how are you? You're right.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
It's on the
There we
camera.
go, all set up. So, Tony's going to talk to us today a little bit about digital corals and how it all started and everything. But first, I thought I'd get us all warmed up and to just try and go through what we've been up to this week in reefing. So, I don't know if you want to start, Tony. What have you been up to this week?
This week it's been pretty much simple. Just a normal water change, really. Been focusing most of the time based in the Web3 world, I suppose. Haven't had anything.
Okay.
Just a simple water change. Sorted out the sump, cleaned out the refugium. It's all very good.
Okay, so refugium, there's a topic. I've actually this week I've spent a bit of time actually taking my refugium out of my tank, out of this tank anyway. And so I haven't fully committed to it yet because I've basically just dumped everything in my fluval and it is completely rammed of chaeto and macroalgae and all sorts. That it's almost a complete refugium in its own right at the moment. But after the Coral Freaks event, and they were talking about the pros and cons of refugiums, it started me thinking about the problems that I've been having with almost non-existent nitrate, but still having phosphate. And I can't really dose much because otherwise I'll wipe out my nitrate. And also, trace elements are hard to come by in my tank. So how have you found with having a refugium in yours?
Well, it's funny. I mean, this setup I've got here, I set up specifically for the Digital Corals project. So it was a newbie about a year and a half ago. And I decided that I would go with it. And I really did. I had that typical thing of trying to find some. No one seems to have any whenever you try and want some, right? And
Yeah,
then when you've got some, all you're doing is throwing it out. So it's one of those things. Yeah, no, I think it worked well for the sort of ugly phase. But
yeah,
as I'm sort of like now developing and, it's sort of settling, should we say, it's something that I thought of. And then I saw your video this week. So I was like, actually, that's a really good point because I'm really struggling with some small bits of hair algae, as we all do. And, I'm sort of changing things and adapting. Just can't seem to get rid of it. I sort of grabbed a couple of sea urchins about 2 weeks ago. They've done a very good job, got to say. But
yeah.
still, I think that whole refugium element is like, are we really holding too much down there? I do really clean it out though. I probably do sort of give it a thorough wash out pretty much sort of every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't seem to get rid of that sort of element that you would want it for to remove. So yeah, possibly. I'll be interested to see how yours develops in regards to how that turns out.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I thought I'll just shove it all in the Fluval Evo because that's my pipefish breeding project tank.
Mm-hmm.
It gives more place for copepods to breed and thrive, keeping the pipefish happy, and hopefully, because I think the male's carrying a big batch of eggs again. Hopefully, they're a bit more successful this time with the fry, and there'll be plenty of hiding space in there for the fry to hide, and hopefully lots of little bits of food in there as well. So, fingers crossed, this time we have a little bit more luck with the pipefish, and it's the amount of space it's saved in that tank. I took my basket that I had it in back and put it out in the garage, but it was quite a big basket
Right.
and it was completely rammed with chaeto and some other macroalgae. Um, and when I took that out, I realised how much space I really had in that tank. And I've been really struggling with space in the sump as well, so it was quite nice to free up that additional space at the same time. And then on top of that, it's just out of shot down here. I've got a box of the Red Sea 4-part complete. What's it called?
Right.
Whatever that Red Sea thing is called that you can't use if you're running a refugium. So
Right.
that opens the door for that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's definitely something I've definitely had a positive experience with. But when it sort of comes to that point, I think where you're trying to achieve, I think, could that be the problem? And when you look at all these sort of like setups and what was spoken about Coral Freaks, yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Because everybody's running just such clean systems.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I say. I wasn't confident enough to just kind of throw it all out,
Mm.
but I really want to give it a good shot to see, just to see how big an impact it made. Um, on top of that, what else have I done this week is I bought, after speaking to Jose from Reef Elements at
Yeah,
Coral Freaks, I was giving him an update from our conversation we had at Aqua, um, and talking about the dosing that I was doing with Reef Elements now. And he said, "Oh, okay, I think you're at that point where you could benefit from running the part two or universal, they call it, all the time.
right,
And then during the day, running complete, and during the night, running pH plus.
right,
So, and that kind of evens out your pH curve a bit. At the moment, that is not the case.
right,
It was reasonably stable, and I've introduced a bit of a variable, and I now need to tweak the timings that everything starts dosing to
right.
get it a bit more uniform. But hopefully, we're going down that path now towards stability with pH.
Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of videos from those guys with regards to how that system works, and obviously if you can achieve somewhere ironing out those curves at any point in the day, I think that's definitely going to have some benefit.
Yeah, yeah. So I see we've got a few people joined us now as well. Um,
Cool.
so we've got the Norfolk Reefer here. Matt, we were speaking to him at the weekend, weren't we? So
You're right,
thank you
Matt.
very much for joining us today, Matt. And I also see we have Harry, the Spiritual Reefer, in the chat as well. It's
Cool.
great meeting him as well. And I don't know if you can see in here, I've got your little frag rack in the display tank, and I've got the rest of it in the sump, as you probably saw on the video that I released earlier the week.
Is that the guy that made the Coca Pod Hotel thing that you were?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, what have I got next to talk about? Agonies. I was gonna not try not to wind Matt up too much, but the Agonies are looking fantastic. Um, and I know that Matt was talking about getting some manganese to start dosing manganese. So I wondered, one, if you've started doing it yet, and two, are you noticing a difference from it? So it'd be great if you can just pop that in the chat. Just see. I'd be interested to see if it's that, because, like I said, I was dosing it, but I wasn't sure whether that was the reason why my Gonny all kind of bloomed when they did, or whether maybe there's something else going on that I don't know about. What else? I had a plating Monty up on the back of the display up here, and it started to die off. Not really sure why. I was having a chat with Shamila from the Frag Spot the other week as well. I was talking to her about it, and she said, "Oh, maybe something's stinging it." So I moved it. I took it off where I'd stuck it on, and I moved it right onto the sandbed, well out of the way of everything. But I then went away with work for a week, come back, and it's completely dead. So
Mm.
I don't know what that was upset about. But weirdly, Monty, I just never seem to have any luck with. I've tried
Right.
3 or 4 different pieces now. Every one has died. And you could argue that there's much harder to keep coral in there that's thriving and really growing a lot.
Mm.
But the Monty, no, it's just not happy in that tank.
On
So
that one,
not quite sure.
want to say with that experience wise, I would say, did you check your magnesium? Obviously,
Yes.
you do, and that's all bang on. I've had issues with that years
So
ago where basically I wasn't monitoring that, and I ended up with a few half decent plates, sort of like that sort of story you've got there.
yeah, so I check it. I've got the Salafoot check kit right next to me. Um, it's high. It's higher than than I wanted it to be. So
Mm.
my magnesium's 1500 pretty much every
Right.
time I test it. Sometimes it's like 1450, 1400, but mostly it's 1500. So it's always quite high. Um, I don't know whether having high magnesium could do it. My calcium's also at 500. Um, so, but I don't know. And you hear people keeping Monty in tanks, and it's just completely fine. So I really don't know. And I think, reflecting back as well on, I think it was Tony Vargas for Coral Freaks said that, coral. I actually think it was Jamie Craggs that said it, and then Tony kind of joined the dots for us. Corals have a lifetime. And
Mm.
it might just be that they're at the end of their life and they've been fragged loads of times, but now
Mm.
that has reached the end of its life and it just dies.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know if that's a convenient excuse for me to not sound like a terrible reefer, or whether there's some truth to it. I don't know. Um, but yeah, just made me think when he was talking about it at the show. I have had some coral that's in the tank that I would expect to be fine, and it's
Mm.
just died. So
Yeah, I think my experience of that is that when I first started, I think when that was sort of happening and you weren't too sure, like there wasn't an actual answer, like the whole thing, if it doesn't look like the whole thing's going downhill and everybody else is pretty much okay, then yeah, I think that sort of, I think we've all been through that one, haven't we? And that's the reason why possibly it's an interesting hobby to be in, because there's never one easy answer to any of it.
yes, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just choked myself on some beer and
So, hi, McManeuver.
yeah. So I see Matt's commented and said that he is dosing manganese now, um, and the new one's looking good,
Okay.
but the green gonny and the alvipora not looking so good. So I don't know how much are you dosing a day, Matt. I know I have a pet in here that is. Yeah, I normally put in about 2.5 mil, something like that. It's not every day because my memory's a bit crap and I can't remember to do it every day. And it's not on a doser, I'm doing it manually. So it's a little bit hit and miss, but I would say probably 4 or 5 times a week, I am dosing it. So, and I also see skier, sailor, biker guy. That's a lot of hobbies. Is in with us as well. No, we haven't gone into any detail yet on digital corals, so it's not an online coral seller, but we'll come to that in a few minutes. I also let me see if I click the right button here. Yeah, here we go. So I got this from the frag swap at Aqua. Looks stunning.
Very nice.
However, that's what it looks like in my tank.
Oh, you done a good job with that.
Of course, acro can famously really vary in colour, but there's a very stark difference between these two pictures. Either the camera was very broken that took this picture, or I need to work on the on I don't know, on something for this to get it looking a bit nicer. Um, and then talking of the frag swap at Aqua, here's one that you probably recognise.
There he is.
Yeah, this is the one that I got from you at Aqua.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in my tank. It's just on the frag rack at the top here at the moment, just growing out a little bit.
Ah, looks like it's doing all
Um,
right.
yeah, yeah. I must admit, when I got it home for the frag swap, I looked at it and I was like, "There is no way this is going to survive."
Yeah, there's
And
nothing like my face when I put it in the pot and snapped it as it went
but
in.
I just stuck it back down, and yeah, it's completely fine. It's all the polyps are out nicely, and I expect it will start to grow now. The polyps have all come out on it.
Yeah, nice one.
So I've got one or two more pictures that I'll cover, and then we'll go into a bit about digital corals. So
Cool, cool.
when I cleared out my sump, I noticed that my one of my dosing lines looked like it was blocked again, and I thought, after the video I released not so long ago, have I clamped one of them pipes again? And I looked, and no, they were all clear. And then as I moved things around in the sump, I saw this lovely stalactite growing off of
Oh no.
one of the dosing heads, or the output of the dosing heads, and this was the complete part one.
Right.
Um, so I just kind of tapped it to break it off, and it's not built up again since. So um,
What would have
yeah,
started causing that?
I don't know.
The slow. I
I'm
mean, what would
guessing.
initiate it? I mean, if it's flowing now and it's okay, well, you know,
Yeah, I wonder if
it hit the bottom of the
when I
bottle or
did a
something.
well, no, because the bottle's fairly new, but I think maybe when I do a water change, I switch my return pump off. This bottom tank fills up quite high.
Right.
And I wonder if it dosed at that point and there was no water movement in the sump,
Right.
whether that somehow caused it. I don't know, or whether this was from, because I think I was dosing calcium on this line
Right.
beforehand, and
Right.
I
Okay.
hadn't dosed it for a really long while. So maybe calcium deposits had built up inside
Yeah.
and that caused it to block. I think that's probably more likely. So let me go back to this screen, and I think we'll go to you now about digital
Cool.
corals. So can you give us, like, I know it's going to be hard, but pretend I'm an idiot. Take me through it as if I know nothing at all about digital corals.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, something that's got to be sort of quite concise because let's say the blockchain is something that not a lot of people have had much exposure to at this point. Although probably inadvertently are probably using it every day in their daily sort of transactions, etc. So yeah, so it came about probably about 7, 8 years ago, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I had a tank at the time. Before that, I was very concerned about the whole banning and things not being able to move, and certain things all of a sudden, I'm going to end up with a yellow tank, for example. That obviously went through that Hawaiian ban still. So got thinking, looking at obviously all the projects that I was sort of looking at within the blockchain space. I sort of realised that it's one thing I always like to try and do is incorporate sort of hobbies into something, if that makes sense. So I saw a
yeah,
gap where obviously there was a blockchain application, if you like, or a way of using the blockchain to record the growth of my corals and my hobby, because I've been doing coral keeping now, fish keeping, for probably about corals for at least 15 plus years. And I've got loads of photos, but I really haven't got anything that's actually trackable, provable, anything I can just click my fingers and I can pull them up. It's always a bit of a fun boy in a fish shop when you end up in that conversation with someone about something, and then you make that. Okay, I'll just pull it out on the phone, and then 5 minutes later, and that whole sort of share and shareability thing. So yeah, so that's really, really what it's about. So obviously there's an application within obviously the blockchain. I use the XRPL ledger, which is, if you like it, the motorway, a level 1 motorway. And we're a little side chain just off of that big motorway. So on that big motorway, you've got all of the financial institutions currently at the moment tokenizing real world assets into digital assets. Now, the reason for that is because of speed. There's various reasons, whether it be houses, cars. Like you wouldn't buy a car, for instance, without a V5 document, given one example. In the future, you wouldn't necessarily acquire a car without obviously the actual digital paperwork, if you like, which is where we come into the tokenization of digital assets. So very simply, it's coral, it's fish, it's a hobby, and it's using the blockchain like your own personal diary journal to take photos of your hobby as you go, and then obviously record it into the blockchain as immutable data, which can never be deleted. It always remains in your own personal wallet. It's 100% publicly viewable for people to be able to share. And that's another thing that I find really interesting, is that unless you're like going into fish shops all the time and building a social network, which, you know, not many of us do, from time to time we go, obviously. Not many people come past and see this tank. It's a very, I'm going back to the whole, the hobby's quite isolated with the fascination as a flag, right? So the whole concept is, if you could share those images. Now I know we've got Facebook and I know we've got the whole current social media out there. That's what I call is a Web 2 world. We're rapidly moving into what I call as the Web 3 world, which is where we will be logging in and accessing accounts and stuff using our digital wallet. So basically, I'm like, should we say, without sort of, you know, being too sort of like arrogant about it, I'm well ahead of the curve as regards to bringing corals to the blockchain. We're also registered as a, you know, small organisation with the XRPL Foundation. So everybody on that side, as regards to the technological side, the protocol, and the people that have obviously made the network, are fully aware of what we're trying to do. And there's many startups like myself and people that are trying to obviously encourage mass adoption of the blockchain system. And obviously by using a hobby and integrating people into the blockchain with a common purpose, then obviously it gets people the exposure. So yeah, so this week's been pretty cool. And I just want to thank you, Steve, for you know, really sort of spoke to many people over at Aqua H. That's where we launched. Obviously, Coral Freaks the other week was absolutely fantastic. Some really big things came out of that for me. And I'm really, you know, like having the patience and sort of like, you know, it hasn't been perfect. We've had our tries, issues. A couple of weeks before Aqua, there was a thing that came along. But as I say, we're brand new. This is all about the hobbyists. I don't want to just shape this for something that I want. This, like, there's plenty of scope for all of us hobbyists to, you know, apply this, do this, share this, and, you know, really leave our tanks with people digitally. Plenty of people don't want to stand with me in my tank. Like, for instance, when the gas man comes around, he's always really polite as he passes and says, "That's amazing." I'm not going to obviously sort of like hold him there to talk about my tank for 15 minutes when he's got to go and do a job. But, you know, what I can do is I can actually give him my tank digitally. And if there's any interest, or he wants to have a look, or he has the time, then that's how we can sort of like open up this, you know, sort of like rather sort of private hobby to other people and say, you know, like, well, yeah, that's amazing. Maybe there might come something from it, because right now, you know, we need more and more people coming in, because now than ever is the easiest time from where I'm looking at as regards to the hardware, the equipment, the support, in regards to the traits with 15 years ago, you know, with obviously sort of like HPS bulbs and all the rest of it. It's certainly moved on.
That's what we're looking at here, is it? So this is my, if you that exchange you're talking about with giving your wallet to, you know, you're not talking about your actual wallet, you're talking about your blockchain wallet, which is like the photo album of your reef tank.
That's right.
And you know, what we've been doing this week is I've been frantically taking loads of pictures of different things in my tank. So this is my tank, and you can see a couple of the NFTs from the Frag Swap event at Aqua and your launch event at Aqua as well.
Yeah.
And then all of these different corals. And I saw we had a comment in the chat from Skier Sailor Biker Guy about the Pandora Zoas that I swapped with him. And in here you can see this is the Zoa Garden. So you can actually see there, and I've got lots of different information. I'm a bit new to this, so you know, I filled it in and I just put some information in because I didn't quite know, we hadn't been through this bit yet, so I didn't know what that was going to look like.
Yeah, so what you're looking at there, what everybody's looking at there is your wallet, Steve, publicly accessible on the internet, viewable for anybody to look at. There's no information on there that says this is Steve's wallet. There's no address information. There's no public information that obviously you want private on there. All you've got is a wallet address. and obviously that's how we got to. So you're quite correct. You can actually click into any one of those corals, and then as you'll see there on the left-hand side below the picture, you will see what we call attributes to the actual NFT. So a bit like a cigarette card. On the front you've got the picture, and on the back you've got the data. So within that coral there you've got up currently at the moment, you will see that it gives you the information of who the member is, what the species is, what the type is, what it's named, what country it's in, what postcode it's in, and obviously how many times it's been updated, and then the retailer information, which is quite a, an interesting thing that I've had some conversations with retailers themselves, because we all look at people's tanks, don't we, and we go, oh, that's an amazing picture, or oh, that thing over your shoulder, Steve, is absolutely fantastic. What is that? Now, technically, I suppose I could look in your wallet, and if you've registered it, I could actually click into that actual coral that you've obviously registered for your own purposes, for your own diary, yeah? And then I can actually see and actually click through and go to the retailer. I can see when it went on the blockchain, and I can see how many times it's been updated. So we see a lot of times on social media where people are taking a picture, this month, and then saying, oh, next month, here's a picture of the growth. That's fantastic. I think we all do that. And it all depends on different times of what times we have different species of corals coming through our tanks. Some things, we've had for 5 years and we're not that so bothered about. It's just that coral. You recently go and buy, what was it? Did you get Pectinia from Vision Aquatics in Aqua?
It was from Deep Blue Marine Emporium.
Deep Blue Marine, that's it.
Shout out to the guys there.
There is that. So if you go on that actual NFT of the Pectinia that I'm talking about as an example, and you scroll down to the bottom, who's the retailer on it?
It's Deep Blue Marine Emporium.
There you go.
There's actually, I put a typo in there. Look, I forgot a dot.
Okay, no worries. Well, we can amend that. We can amend that. But people can actually copy that and obviously go off and find that, copy, search to Google, and away they go. So there you go. It's a classic example.
Yeah.
I've spoken about you just there about something of a Pectinia that you purchase at a certain place. I've got the retailer wrong when speaking to you. You've just pulled it up on the internet and then just scrolled down to the retailer, and we've confirmed that it obviously is black on marine. So that's really what it is, because there's a lot of so personally, it's really nice for me to be able to sort of like think about bringing the blockchain and obviously the hobby into existence, because as we do move into tokenized world, this sort of tokenization of obviously your hobby or some way, shape or form, I think it's going to be a little bit more common. I think one of the most interesting things that came out of Coral Freaks for me was the fact when Jamie Craggs turned around and said that, we're possibly looking at 10 years. Yeah. Or I won't quote him on 10 years, and that's probably unprofessional of me to say, but he quoted quite a short period of time. A short enough period of time for it to be in my lifetime, put it that way. So ironically, that was a moment for me at Coral Freaks, because 7-8 years ago, when this is just like some idea and I'm trying to find some blockchain that this is going to work on, the whole concept of obviously the hobby grinding to a halt and everything we've got in our tanks, it's like stick. That's it. Nothing's coming in from the wild. And is it a possibility that down the road that we could see some form of ownership? If they're going to ban it obviously from import export, I think the next people on the list is going to be people like us. If it goes that way, I think we've got many years for that, but I'm not saying. So it's basically building up a large database of what people have got. They're actually doing it obviously because they're tracking their own hobby, and then all of us, whether you're actually part of it or you're just a viewer, if you like, can go to obviously the blockchain, the Explorer, and you can obviously look at who's on. And we've got a few people we need to move over from obviously before, where we had a slight issue before Aqua Age, but now it's fully functioning. Website's completely up and running. I'm really, really pleased with how the website's now come out. Your feedback this week's been absolutely fantastic. As obviously should we say a newbie user, but I think once you actually, you've been absolutely fantastic, and I really, really appreciate it. And I hope this sort of gives people a little bit of an understanding with regards to what it's all about. I think we've had plenty of conversations with people, but I can see the sort of vacant look. A number of people that I've just turned around and gone, what's blockchain? It's like, I have to check myself before I wreck myself as regards to how much people know about what on earth, what I see is quite commonly going to be something in the near future. I think we're going to see, well, billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of assets being tokenized in the next
Yeah.
5 years. So, we're just that small part of it. And then where we go from there is that once we start applying the data, we can start doing things like we have our own native salt token, for instance. So for every NFT that you see there in Steve's wallet, every Sunday, Steve will be receiving our native salt token reward, which currently has a microscopic value, should we say. But that's obviously participation in the network. So like every project on the crypto space, it has its native token. And this is where we go down that sort of rabbit hole of everybody going cryptocurrency, right? And yeah, there's a lot of scams out there. Don't get me wrong. It is the wild, wild west. It's completely unregulated currently at the moment. But I think we're, unregulated, part unregulated. I think what we will see, and we reward SOL tokens to you as a participant by having the amount of NFTs you've got in your wallet. Where SOL goes as a token and how you can use it, you can tip each other. I'm hoping that maybe one day retailers might turn around and say, do you know what? Sunday, 20,000 SOL, we'll give you 5% discount. I don't know, something along those lines. We can use the blockchain for favorites. We can have a voting type mechanism inside. And once we apply the data, and obviously the blockchain can then obviously pull us out, who has the most popular coral. We can have retail check-ins. We're going to say we're all about sort of driving retail footfall back into our retailers to make sure that obviously the people that actually get people into this hobby actually have some form of existence out there, which is obviously dramatically reducing. So you can get rewarded, for instance, walk in, scan a QR code, send a bit of salt to the retailer while you're in the store, and then obviously the retailer lets us know. We send you back a unique NFT that says that you were actually in that retail shop and a bag of salt to go with it. So that's where we're at. But as I say, we're micro numbers. Aqua H as a general was a fantastic PR experience in regards to sort of putting the brand out there and just sort of saying hello to everybody. The community was absolutely incredible. The traders were unbelievable. And the amount of people that attended was just, well, you were there, you saw it. It was something
It was crazy.
really, really good, really, really good.
Yeah.
So we dumped out a load of boxes. I think a lot of people thought that in the boxes there might be some sort of packet of food or something. Obviously sorry to disappoint everybody, but it was some sort of process in regards to going and getting bored in the blockchain for a while. But yeah, so we're going to keep on sort of striving on. There you go. There's the package itself, the membership pack. So we're just looking for members to come and join us over at Digital Corals. I think initially, you start with these ideas and you think, okay, we're going to charge this, we're going to do this, this is going to be great, and all the rest of it. And we've had great reception from people. I mean, I came out and sort of went to Vision of Quacks where pretty much it all started. Within a couple of weeks, I was fortunate to be sat with Brian at TMC, and then realising as soon as I left that meeting, as good as it was and encouraging as Brian was about it, I just had an idea. Now, there's very much a difference between having an idea and actually having something that's functioning. So now I feel like it's actually there, and I think it's I think it's got some roles to play in the future. It's not something that it's a great entry point as well. If people have not had any Web3 experience or they've never owned a digital wallet before, it's a nice way of sort of introducing yourself into the way things are going to start to go. I look at it a little bit like pre-email. When people, the first time someone said to you, can you send it to me on email? And it's like, you're just like licking the stamp. And it's like, what's an email? Okay.
Yeah.
This is that sort of like moment. And we will be using digital wallets to access pretty much any account. So once we get over that hurdle, that's where we then see, hopefully, no doubt, that mass adoption point. And I think everybody that will then be doing things, hobbies, whatever it may be, we'll be using the blockchain in some way, shape, or form to record that.
So, if there's people, listening right now, how can they get involved in this, and how much is it going to cost them?
Yeah, so I think when we initially went out, I think our membership fee we were going to say just £25 a year, and then obviously there's if you want to talk about the money side of it, then obviously there's a registration per coral. That was the initial idea. I think what I've realised in regards to the feedback that I've got from everybody, and this sort of like bump that I call it, the sleeping policeman of this project, and that is the point where someone has to go off on their own and download a digital wallet on their own and then come back. You know, you've been through it, Steve. Fund the wallet, etc. Download the subtype. It's not for the faint-hearted, put it that way. And I think that's a fair way of saying it, because we've not had that experience. For someone like myself and people that I know in the blockchain that haven't even got corals tanks, for them to complete it and obviously go through the process, it's like, you know, they feel most comfortable in that arena. But that's where we're at. So currently, after the feedback from ActPH and looking at it, I think what I'm looking to do is just try and get the exposure of people using the blockchain. So currently, there's no fees at all. Right? You can download a digital wallet. You can become a member of, obviously, you can go to the website, first of all, you can become a member. Right? The second thing after you do that, you can then go and download your own digital wallet. Once you download your digital wallet, I'm even going to actually fund that wallet to basically, it's like a small amount of XRP, the native token of the big motorway I described earlier on, that allows you access. So we're even going to do that at some point to a level of X amount of members, because obviously there would have to be a cut-off point of that. But just to get people on. Once people are on, then obviously they've got there, fully here to help anybody, obviously, you know, with any sort of like issues or things that they're not aware of. And then once you're in, at the moment, everything inside the actual shop, if you call it, where you can register your corals and you can register your tank, you can register your fish, that's all completely set to zero currently. So there is no barrier to entry financially at all. There is no exposure as regards to even having to go to find things. I'll actually deliver it all to you. So it's pretty much there, all simple on the website. We've had a nice update on the website today. It looks fantastic, and the person involved in that has done a great job. Very much appreciate it.
Okay. So do you want to share a link to this? You know, if there's anyone in the chat or watching later or live that wants to get involved and set up one of these digital
Yeah.
wallets themselves for registering their coral and things like that?
Yeah, so it's quite simple. The first thing to do is go and become a member at digitalcorals.com. Just sign up to be a member. Very, very simple. That basically allows you access, obviously, to see the other part of the shop that's not available to the public, because obviously we only want members to obviously go in there and update corals. And then the next thing you would need to do after that is you would need to go onto your phone, to your App Store or Google Play Store, download a Zahan wallet, and then after you've done that, you can set it up. There's a process of setting up, which is all fully explanatory within the actual app itself, and that is your digital wallet. At that point, you need to fund it. What I will then do upon request back in the membership shop is obviously send those wallets 15 XRP, which in today's money is probably valued at about $7 or something along those lines. But as I say, I'm happy to you know, sort of make that happen, just so no one's got to use any credit cards or anything, because there is this stigma when it comes down to blockchain, digital currencies, this, that, and everything else. So what I'm trying to get here is like there's no exposure at all to anybody as regards to having to do that. And once they've done that, they then can go and do what you've done yourself this week, Steve. Just go and you know, like upload as many fish you like or corals, etc. And obviously those are then returned as, obviously once I've processed the order and created the NFTs. That's basically what we do at Digital Corals. We create NFTs as a middleman roundabout and send those back to you upon request. And that's pretty much it. You collect them, you hold them in your wallet. And I think obviously the next thing that we would need to possibly come back with an update is like, you know, let's review those corals that you've updated this week, which is the whole part of the concept of the project, in say 6 months or so. I'll leave that down to you, and we'll come down to obviously update those corals, and then we can actually see the updates. In fact, would it be possible to bring up the full chain, with the burnt thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Just to sort of show that. So everything, I'll just quickly waffle on before you put up. Everything you see on the blockchain that is in color is an actual current, you know, alive, if you like, real world asset. Everything you see on the blockchain that's in gray has actually been burnt. So it would have been burnt for a reason. Now, obviously, we burn the NFTs. Obviously, when you then come to update it, Steve, obviously you can't have two NFTs of the same product.
Yeah.
So when you go to update, you basically burn the one, and then obviously it stays in your wallet, and you can see that. You can see that John Deere, for instance, just to the right of that membership at the bottom. You can see the current picture of it. What number is that? I can't see what number.
Which one are we looking at down here?
Up a little bit.
This one?
Yeah, that one there. That's it. Click that
Yeah.
one. Open that up. So if you open that up, that's a John Deere that I grabbed hold of. You can click on the just below the image. Although this has been burnt in my wallet, you can actually click just below the image, IPFS image. Or that's it.
This one here?
Yeah, that's the one. And then what it's going to do, it's going to return it back as a color image.
Okay.
So although you burn it on the blockchain, it's represented visually by it being grey or black and white. But actually, if you do dig further into it, you still always remember you have the actual full color version. So if you go back again and then go to the update of this, just to give an example of the updates, the one just to the left of the one you just done there, that's the one. And pull up that image, then obviously that's the current image after the update. So depending on obviously the data that's actually on that actual NFT, it will then tell you the specific day. It's an accurate day. It's a confirmed day. It's unchangeable, and obviously, it's obviously been held in someone's actual private wallet for a purpose. In that case, that one's actually in mine. The other ones that we can look at are yours.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll have a look at who's come in since. I've seen a few people popping in. So yeah, we've got Jay from Jaysville Reefing. Hi Jay.
Hi Jay, you right?
Rich H is in. Dan's Reef is here. Tom from the Roofers Network is here. Anyone else? No, I think that's it. And we did have a few questions. So Matt Norfolk Reefer asked about dosing too much manganese. So to talk about that, I got my last ICP test up, and you can see here my manganese was still undetectable. And for the life of me, I can't remember the correct term for this. So I'm going to think of it like radiation and talk about it as a half-life. So the half-life of manganese is really short. It's like an hour or 90 minutes or something like that. I seem to remember Jose saying. So you can put it in your tank, and it might be too much for a very short period of time. And ideally, you'd dose half a mil at certain points throughout the day, so it's distributed more. But as I said, I'm dosing manually at the moment, so I just come dump 2.5 mil in, and they get a good dose of it once a day or every other day or whatever it is that my memory allows me to remember to dose it. So hopefully that's helped answer that one. Yeah, we had Skier saying a biker guy saying the only thing he knew about blockchain was it's something to do with Bitcoin. And I think that's part of the challenge that you were saying, Tony, was that, talking about it as the blockchain and as crypto and NFTs and things like that, I think either confuses people or scares them, depending on their amount of exposure to things and what experiences they've had. I try to think of it as more as kind of secure pictures of my coral, which is maybe oversimplified, but an easier concept to get across.
Yeah, I think there is a big thing out there that most people sort of look at it as something that's negative, but there's an awful lot of things in life that they say that are no good that turn out to be pretty good. And it's just the amount of people and bank. I mean, it's just really like, I've watched it now for 7 years. I've seen the ups and downs, and there's been plenty of those. But the underlying technology and what these projects are actually doing, amazing. And that's the reason why I wouldn't say as much passion for the blockchain as I do for the tank. But yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, good. And what else do we have? We of course we can't go without mentioning that Jay won the grand prize at Coral Freaks. Yeah, jammy fella.
Perfect, because that was the one I was going for. You know, I've done more money now on raffles for an XR15. I should have just gone out and bought it. You know, no way I'm getting a 50% deal off it. You know, what's that all about? It's all about getting like sort of caught up in the hype. But yeah, I mean, first of all, fantastic to raise that sort of money. Is it 3,000?
Yeah,
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 £3,000, right, from the guys, the crew down at AAC, putting that on, absolutely knockout. I will say a world-class stage of names. I mean, really, something, you know, quite special. But yeah, so anyway, back to the raffle. I'm sat there and I'm looking at the ticket and I'm like, okay, right, come on, it's got to happen now. I mean, you can't put any more money in if you like everything. And so I realised quite quickly I hadn't won. So of course I start scanning the room and I see Jay, like literally in that moment, where he's got this gimbal thing on one hand and he's trying to read on the other, and then the face of it actually happening. But yeah, no, it was priceless. And to capture that on video, that's just actually quality.
yeah, really. And I went and bought the strip of tickets before Jay's strip of tickets. Like
Oh
the
no.
so they were reading, they're like, it's three, yes, eight, yes. And they're like, and then I was like, oh. And I thought, hang on a minute, that's right after mine. That's Jay's. And then I looked round and I heard him like screaming, I can't believe it's me, kind of walking
Yeah,
down the
no,
middle.
brilliant. No, great moment, great moment.
So yeah, everyone's asking now when he's going to get the new tank. When is he getting a bigger tank for that new
I'm
light?
looking for the new. I'm looking forward to the new live stream series of how to install an XR15.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a really great. You know, I'm quite analytical when I do things. I try and weigh up the risks. And I don't like do raffles. I don't do competitions. I don't do um auctions and things like that very often. Because I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll probably throw a lot of money at it and I won't win it anyway. But
Mm.
and I started to go down that route again, and I thought, hang on a minute, it's for charity and it's for a great charity. So I just, you know what, throw some money in. Um, yeah, it was a really great event, and meeting somebody. I was just see a comment here from the spiritual reefer. Yeah, so he won the ocean nutrition bottles,
Right.
and I
Okay.
saw him in AAC afterwards, and I said to him, I'm pretty sure that comes with like a voucher for AAC as well.
Right.
And then they looked on the website. Oh yeah, it comes with two £75 vouchers for AAC.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
So
No, that's
yeah,
all right.
I think you got yourself a powder blue tang, didn't you, Harry? So hopefully that's all settled in now. And I know you sent a couple of pictures, and it looked like it was going well. So hopefully everything's still okay with that.
I
And
thought
yeah,
the sorry.
I did see on Jay's video that he also won a whole crate of John Smiths because no one else was drinking it.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. That was a nice touch. I did look over there at the cans of drink. I was like, a crate of John Smith's. What the hell's that doing here? And then there's obviously the penny drops. Not there's a problem with John Smith's, of course, Jay, right? You know, I'm just saying that basically it was just a bit strange to see a crate of John Smith's at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Other beers are available. Um, Other things that came up were some of the conversations at Coral Freaks. So um, I know I mentioned in my last live stream that I had this fungia that was sat on my tank, and it just it didn't look particularly unhappy, but it certainly wasn't living its best life. And when they started talking about fungias at Coral Freaks, and they talked about putting they shouldn't be put on the sand bed, I'm thinking, uh-oh, what have I done? Why? And because the tissue grows right underneath them. So I've now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's on a rock. Yeah, you just see the orange bit just there. So I've put it on a
Right.
rock so that the water can get underneath it. And it still doesn't look very happy, but I thought I'd give that a try and see if that made a difference. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
One other point I want to
but it
mention
was
about the old
interesting.
Coral Freaks scene, sorry, just quickly, is the award for that was given to David Saxby. I thought that was
Yes,
that was a priceless moment to be in the room to actually see
Yeah.
that and just witness it in person. Because we all know, obviously, what he's done there. I mean, it's just incredible. And I thought his question was particularly interesting. It sort of got my brain sparked, which is where he mentioned the fact of, obviously, I don't know whether obviously he's had huge frustration over his marine time of not being able to acquire frags from people that obviously would have loved to have sent him something, or he would love to have sent someone something. And the whole concept of obviously how CITES get involved, and actually obviously anything that is banned, whether it obviously coming out of the ocean that would be banned, but obviously anything that's coming out of anybody's tank or any movement of that is obviously also banned, which makes sense. So yeah, it got me thinking about that one as well, as regards to obviously the trace and I hate the word terminology, the trace and trackability, if you like, to make CITES happier that the fact that that maybe be able to be conducted. So that's something I'm following up after the coral freak side of it, and to see what
Yeah.
possibly we can do there.
Yeah, I do think that no, Jamie, I think it was Jamie and John was saying that you really need to make sure that whatever we do, it keeps the people in the country where they would normally be collecting the coral. It keeps them employed, because if they lose that income,
Mm.
they need to go and look for another income, and if that's then detrimental to the reef, we're doing more damage still than. And another thing that crossed my mind when Jamie was talking about the temperature rise and the impact that's going to have on the reef.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then he said that, oh, they'll probably in the future stop export. But then I thought, well, if the problem is that the temperature's going up and the ocean's getting too hot, surely it's better to get it all out of the ocean into temperature controlled boxes around the world, and then when we've got some kind of strategy to reintroduce it, be able to reintroduce it again. I think that's probably the key. And I think if one of the things I noticed that I've put in my news section, if I just get this up, can oh, everything's disappeared for me. Here we go. So they were showing that they've actually been able to selectively breed corals to to have a greater tolerance to heat,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's going to be a key development in keeping the reef safe and in existence, which was a really interesting thing to see, and fitted in really well with what they were saying at Coral Freaks as well.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that, because when people mention like that, or that conversation comes up, or as you've just mentioned there, to me, my mind goes immediately to centralized and decentralized banking. Um, so what I'm looking at there with regards to the concept is that the ocean is the centralized bank, yeah, and each one of our boxes of water is a decentralized solution to a catastrophic event actually out there in the real world. So who knows the role that we, or all of us individually, might have to play at some point in regards to that. So yeah, so that's absolutely right. And yeah, and obviously my concept with digital corals is to obviously publicly display, rather than only people coming in can see that. I would like people to see that in a public domain and actually know what they're looking at is actually real. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and it's it's having that control, isn't it? It's the right amount of control and in the right way, I think is part of the key to all of this.
Yeah, I think
So
that where you say the control, I get that. Just to be clear, I'm not all about us as hobbyists registering everything we've got in our tank. The concept of the project is along the lines of obviously you registering whatever you would register. I think I'll put it this way, the amount of NFTs that you've registered this week for your tank, Steve, I would probably say that we would be getting almost into the sort of uneconomical um, space space, you know, in regards to it actually being something that is just too expensive to do, because obviously there is fees, there is charges, there is creation time, etc. And obviously one would have to pay the bills if obviously it was to be successful.
Yeah.
So it is, you know, I envisage like people being a small user as being someone that would just register the tank. So if Jay's still watching, here's a shout out. He put a beautiful picture of his tank the other day, and I mentioned that, you know, that should be represented as a tokenized digital asset. Well, yeah, I mean, in my world, but my objective is to provide a platform that people that can just do that. So a small user would be someone that would just register a tank. You might have another user that just want to register, say, their tank, and, you know, they might want to pay 3 or 4 corals. They might want to run one coral for, like, say, 6 months, and then obviously deregister that one and capture the growth period and put another one on to record that time. We're not talking about everything here. We're not talking about being a new sort of department of the tank police in regards to, like, oh, you know, everything must be registered. That's not what we're all about. And I hope, and I definitely don't want it to ever go that way. But, you know, if you talk about what people at Coral Freaks were talking about, you know, that's where my mind then sort of going, well, actually, hang on a minute, what does that look like when that happens?
Yeah.
If it does. Obviously, we don't want that.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me on to another point that I saw in the news. Let me share again. And this was something that I've been building up to before. I've been pulling all these links together before I actually went to Coral Freaks.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I saw this, you know, Jamie had been successful in breeding the pink sea fan. And then, of course, we had this this event at AOC where,
Mm-hmm.
where Jamie, right, I never imagined this was actually going to happen.
I was
When he
gutted,
walked
absolutely
in,
gutted. I was gutted. As I was walking out, I went into AAC. I was in a bit of a hurry to get back. And believe it or not, I walked in. I was actually going to walk out and not actually crash something. And I got halfway back through the car park in front of people I don't know. And I just said, I must be mad. Of course I've got to get a coral. So I went back, grabbed a coral. And on the way back from that, I saw Jamie walking in. So we sort of acknowledged each other and all the rest of it. And then I saw that. I mean, to not be able to witness that, I was absolutely gutted. But I'm so pleased that some people got it on video, because to witness, you know, that particular person doing that particular, I don't know, what do you want to call it, procedure? I mean, you know, who can actually look at a coral and go, yeah, the eggs are going to be there? I mean, that's crazy.
so I've been in touch with Jamie,
Mm-hmm.
and I got some pictures that I included in that video of the coral that he broke, and the eggs that you can see inside it
Yeah.
as well, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that was fascinating. I mean, we know we spoke about it on the stage, but then to actually rock up and actually do it as an actual live performance, yeah, pretty cool. And quite another thing that was unique to, like, Coral Freaks. When else are you going to see Jamie Fraggs do that?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it was like I was surrounded by it, so I noticed that news article, and then we saw Jamie at Coral Freaks, and we got to witness that. And while I was at Coral Freaks, I picked up the latest copy of Ultramarine, open it up, and in it we've got Jamie Craigs breaking open a coral and checking for eggs in it. So
Yeah, nice.
it seems to be everywhere I'm looking at the moment.
Mm. Now, that stuff those guys are doing there, yeah, it wasn't until I got chatting with Professor Michael Sweet, who's Jamie Craigs' partner, I believe, in the coral
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, he was actually kind enough to actually sit down and watch some of my blockchain waffle at Aqua H, which was very kind. And we had a little bit of a chat afterwards, because I sat down and watched all of his, and I didn't realise that, you know, these sort of like mobile container units, you know, all over the world, basically, like, sort of like performing this sort of science, should we call it, or process of science. And obviously, you know, they're actually like in with governments, and, you know, I mean, it's really quite impressive, and something that, you know, really makes you want to have a go yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I fancy a little black room somewhere, you know, just you know,
Yeah.
sort of like maybe, you know, just to sort of say, because you can technically have a go at it, especially with the technology and the lights and all the rest of it. I mean, before that was just absolutely crazy. You could do that at home. I mean, who's the guy? oh,
Pelagic swimmer, Rob.
yeah, I've been watching Rob.
Yeah,
Fantastic stuff. I mean, like he's actually doing it. You know,
yeah,
forefront of the hobby, right? I mean, it's not
yeah,
quite as attractive to get like a new tank past the other half, is it? To have just a black box in the corner. But you know, nonetheless, it's something as a hobbyist is really sort of like up there, isn't it? With regards to achievement.
yeah,
And I might have to
yes,
make
yeah,
Rob.
yeah,
I
definitely.
might have to make Rob a special NFT. There's like a
Oh.
billion salt tokens on the end of it. Oh, sort of achievement award.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, is there anything you've kind of seen in reefing news that you've found
Yeah, I tell you what, there's
noteworthy?
noteworthiness, nothing in specific, but just generally this week I've been a little bit tired. No, I don't know, don't want to be too controversial, but I think I wish everybody was a little bit more positive. Can I say that? You know,
Yeah, I
the
wish that
whole
in general.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that sometimes, if you're like thinking about getting in the hobby and like, I don't know, I just think that, there should be more stuff, just maybe how much easier it is to do it today. We don't need all the technical gubbins and all the rest of it. I'm very much a sort of like old school reefer, a couple of bits of glass and a couple of big pipes, and I'm done. Um,
Yeah,
but I just feel that there's this sort of price entry point. If we're going to drive, should we say, more footfall or new hobbyists into the hobby, then we can't. I mean, I saw some tanks and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're beautiful tanks. They are, and obviously they're worth what they are. Don't get me wrong. Um, the engineering and obviously the sump and this whole complete setup, fantastic. But it's like you can have a lovely softy tank, right? You don't
yeah,
you don't have to have it's that sort of thing. So if you're in that sort of cold water, tropical sort of journey, cichlid, we've all sort of like been on that route somewhere, shape or form. Um, yeah, it's like have a go at it. And I think sometimes we just need I don't know, just more sort of simple stuff. And I don't think the cost barrier entry is such a big thing. And of course, all those new hobbyists, if you're out there and you want to get involved and you want to document your hobby, then digital corals, a bit of cliche, but it is a great place to sort of like really record everything you're doing and share it in a public domain amongst hobbyists.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've got a couple more bits of news, and then I noticed we've got Tom from Reefers Network asking a little bit more about digital corals. So we'll do a couple of bits of the news, and then we'll go back and we'll get like the elevator pitch from you on
Cool.
what it all is. So I'll give you a few seconds to prepare while I'm
Thanks.
going through this. So a couple of other things that stood out to me this week. This Wilsoni, I think it was.
Hmm.
Wow, what a coral! That looks absolutely amazing. So yeah, I mean that really stood out to me. And then algae reactors, and we're literally we started this live stream talking about taking out the chato and refugiums and things like that, and then the next thing is we're seeing a resurgence in these algae reactors. So I don't know where we're going to go with that. It's an interesting concept.
I've never had one. I've never had one. So I just
No,
obviously they're quite
no, I haven't.
efficient. What they look like do, but say my problem I've got is pretty much like you. My real estate space in my sump is a bit too tight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the beauty of these because you can pipe it in and out. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to go in your sump.
Are they externals?
Yeah, well, it looks like it. You've got a
Right.
set
Okay.
of pipes at the top there.
Right. I'm with you. So
So
like a radiator.
I am, yeah, I imagine that you can put that outside of your sump and run your flow through it.
Yeah. Pretty
And
cool.
then saw the at first I thought seahorse, but I know that, and I know they're closely related. But a pygmy pipe horse um, has been found just off of
Right.
Africa.
Who found that?
Uh,
Is that a brand new species?
yeah, it's a newly discovered
Really?
species.
Isn't
So
that
I
incredible? Like we
imagine
still
it's
get that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been around a lot longer. It hasn't just come into existence, but we've only just discovered it, which I think is what you were just about to say. It's crazy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we can go so long and still be finding new things. Um,
How
what
long will
else
it
do we
take
have?
for Paul down at AAC to be breeding those?
And didn't they look stunning in AAC? The
Yeah.
seahorse he had. That they
Yeah, I
looked.
was really,
I've
yeah,
been
the whole thing, yeah, the shop, the whole thing, staff. It was like, I got absolutely rammed after the show. I mean, that must have been like almost traumatic. I mean, it was just
yeah.
so many people in there, but you know, it was good. You know, but yeah, no, nice, smart shop, really smart shop. And like, if you walked in there and you were thinking about joining the hobby, you'd feel pretty confident, wouldn't
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
you? Yeah.
And I think last thing on my news was this that I saw, which is the mass spectrometer ICP that is going to be coming to Reef's Elements, which is like
Right.
the the granddaddy of all testing. You know, it tests absolutely everything. Um, be really interesting to see that. I did actually reach out to Jose and ask him, what do you think it's going to be? Because I thought, oh, that'd be really interesting if we can talk about it today and kind of drop that early news of how
Uh
much
huh.
it's going to be. Um, and he said that he hasn't quite decided yet. But you know,
Right.
it's I think he's just he wants to obviously make it competitive, but doesn't want to lose money on it. Obviously, it's a business, so it's finding that right price point for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, really interesting. What a piece of equipment that must be as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, some
Very
serious
interesting.
investment in that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me move a couple of bits around so I can look over here a bit less better. So we've got a few more comments in. What have we got in here? Yeah, people staying at the Green Man. Yeah, definitely. I heard everyone had quite a good time there as well.
What was that with the coral freaks?
Coral Freaks, yeah, there was
Right. Yeah.
a pub called the Green Man that a lot of people stayed in.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, Jamie Craggs, I could have actually listened to him talk all day.
Yeah, that's
I
some
set my
knowledge.
yeah, I set my camera up with the idea. So Tony Vargas came on and I recorded a bit at the beginning and I thought what I'll do is I'll kind of piece together a few bits from everyone.
Right.
And yeah, then Jamie Craggs came on and I was so engrossed with what he was saying, I never stopped recording. So I actually recorded the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed listening to that.
Yeah. No, that was. Yeah, I think every part of the day he contributed. Yeah, more so than I think. Yeah, the knowledge is just unbelievable. Isn't it? I mean, just to obviously sort of have that sort of experience and to sort of be the sort of front runner as regards to pioneering that. That's
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, pretty cool.
yeah. And I would agree, Tom. His tank looks fantastic. It really does look amazing. And the little coral spawning tank he's building, really interested. I had a quite a chat with him at Coral Freaks about what he's up to with that, which
Right.
sounds really interesting as well.
Yeah. Now, has he got a live feed on it or something that we can see it or?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
He yeah. I did ask him in, I think it's Reef Talks live feed, whether he had an update on it, and he was basically just said that, you know, there's a whole lot of nothing going to be happening for a while,
Right.
so he didn't want to just kind of just do videos for the sake of them. He was going
Right.
to wait until there was some development and
Mm-hmm.
then do another video on it. But yeah, I don't know if you saw in AAC, but they have a softies tank and like Goniapora tank and lots of there because there's so many tanks, display tanks in that shop. You know, they every time you turn around, they're like, "Oh, there's the one I didn't spot." Um,
Yeah.
and I think he's definitely tried to set up some different tanks, not like you would normally see, which is good.
Yeah. Size of a 10p piece. Like when you see something
Yeah,
that's like half a dinner tray, it's like yeah, that's something else.
yeah. Oh, so I see here that Rich said I was hoping someone recorded the whole thing. So I know the Yorkshire Reefer was there with Exodus, and he was recording the whole thing. It was being recorded from multiple devices, from multiple angles, with different audio feeds and everything. And I know the intention was to be able to then stitch that all together and put it out as a show, if you like. Um, that's just going to be a huge amount of work. I don't expect that to be happening anytime soon. I think you're probably looking at a couple of months for that because
I
there's a
think
lot of work in editing all of that.
I think they put out a small. I saw on Instagram that day. Was it yesterday or today? I think something's coming out on Sunday. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I think he. I mean, Steph was there, like at his computer. Obviously, there's a little bit of a. I'm sure there's a lot of demand actually for people to go like, "Where's the video?"
Yeah.
But obviously, one's got to remember editing and stuff. People just don't understand just how time consuming that is. And as
Yeah.
you say, I mean, like not being funny, but he had it really well covered on the camera angles. I mean, it was everywhere. So,
Yes.
and you know what his videos are like, So yeah, he's going to need a little bit of time. But I think he's definitely said that on Sunday, something. I don't know what parts, but a part of it is actually going to be out on Sunday. I'm very
Yeah.
confident.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to edit it into chunks of each talker or, a general overview or something like that. Because, yeah, I mean, I always say that like for every hour's content that you make as a video, you probably record at least four and spend at least six editing.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and there was basically a whole day's worth of content. So it's gonna take some time, but
I think the
yeah,
video I
I know
saw
who's playing.
I think in the video that I saw, I think he actually said the actual amount of gig he's dealing with. It is a lot of stuff, especially if it's high def. I mean, cool blunt. Yeah,
Yeah, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, so Rob, it looks like I imagine you're talking about Rob with the coral spawn, and that's just a typo. Um, is going to be doing a live feed by the looks of it of the coral spawning, which would be really interesting.
yeah, that'd be cool. That would be
Yeah.
cool. See that getting quite a few views.
Yes, yeah,
That's sort of
definitely.
thing that could go viral, couldn't it? I mean, everybody's sort of sat around watching for something like that to happen. Because I mean, that is.
Yeah,
I find the timing of all that just incredible, right? I mean, even Jamie mentioned there's one thing I picked up on. He said, like, these corals spawn at 9 o'clock. And these corals basically he doesn't like because obviously he wants to have to go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning because they spawn on that moon cycle. Do you know what I mean? I found that
yeah,
fascinating that they all do it at different times, but literally within hours of, just a couple of days. Fantastic.
yeah. So I know that he's actually running his tank offset from real time.
Right, okay.
So he's tweaked it so that he's getting time to work on it when it works for him,
Right.
rather
Okay.
than because if he works on the actual time in the location where that coral is from,
Mm.
then all of his available time would be nighttime. And
Yeah, that's
then he
right.
wouldn't be able to open the covers and work on it. So
Yeah,
he's
right.
kind of tweaked it so that it gives him some time to work on it, which, yeah,
Yeah.
I think is going to help a lot. So then we go back to Tom's question here. Give us your elevator pitch for digital corals.
Yeah, so if you're in the hobby um, and you want to capture your hobby, create your journal, something that's shareable, then obviously, I'd like to think that people would, show, a little bit of interest in doing something a little bit different, should we say, because it is, but as I say, we are moving in that direction. Um, Memberships are free, so there's no cost to entry on the memberships. There's no requirement to obviously acquire any XRP to actually fund your wallet because we can do that all through the internal shop. And currently, there's no obstacles in regards to how many NFTs you want to put up. I might caveat that with obviously, fair use.
Yeah,
Someone, bangs me like 100 orders of like 100 corals in their tank. That's not what we're that's, I don't think that what we're about is actually capturing 100% of that. It's the stuff that you're interested in. It's the fish that you're interested in. I wish I had a picture of my yellow tang here. I've had him for at least 14 years. And that's great saying that in the shop, isn't it? But, there's a whole different world possibly in the future where, that sort of acknowledgement that, that you have had these things for this long and you have been doing the hobby for this long and you have owned these corals at some point. If that's something of interest, then drop on by to www.digitalcorals.com, register to become a member, and have a go at and download the digital wallet for yourself. All the instructions there, and if you get sort of stuck, then I'm absolutely over enthusiastic about bringing my two hobbies together. Any issues, just get in contact, and I'll be more than happy to guide you through.
So I'm showing on the screen at the moment I assume it's the yellow tang you're talking about. You
Yeah, there
said
it is.
that you'd love to share a picture of it, and I could go straight to your wallet, scroll
Yes.
through, find the yellow tang, and here it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the whole thing. And then once obviously the data matures and it becomes a little bit longer in the tooth, we say, the data is just going to become so much more richer in regards to the postcode areas, what countries certain things are in. If obviously we've got different people in different countries doing it. So yeah, it's about exactly that example there, Steve. It's about I've done it to you earlier on when you mentioned it, and you've just done it back to me. I got the retailer wrong, and you corrected me with the blockchain, and I mentioned my beloved yellow tang, and you could pull up a picture there and it. So,
Yeah.
great
Yeah,
example.
so there's an example here of Tony's tank, and we did talk earlier about all tags. We can see the burned ones. So if you wanted to take progress pictures, you've got a before when the coral was new, and this is the same coral, but it's because it's in color and this is in black and white. That's the old one. That's what it looks like now, and it's grown out a bit more, so you can show kind of progress as well. And then this is my tank and some of the coral and fish that I've taken pictures of and got up on the digital corals blockchain. I don't know if I'm butchering all this terminology or not.
I'll tell you what I will go to just quickly. If you go to the top there, just to sort of like end it off as regards to another aspect of the chain, go right to the top. I said the two event NFTs. So you've got two NFTs there. One is I was there at the launch of Digital Corals at Aqua H, and the other one is I fragged and swapped at the Coral Hotel Aqua H. So that's what I've sort of like coined as my grab it, stick it, claim it campaign. So we had stickers for these. We gave away stickers that are launch stickers. So the claiming process is you stick it, you take a picture, you claim it, we send you the NFT. That's another NFT in your wallet that obviously Digital Coral members are then going to be earning obviously soul token rewards off. And not only that, anybody then looking into your wallet in the future, there you go. Anybody looking into your wallet in the future obviously sees that you are actually an attendee of that actual event. So it's not only just sort of tracking what's in your tank. It's like, where did you go? Did you frag and swap at the Coral Hotel, etc. All these little things that we do as hobbyists. There's a possibility in a way that Digital Corals could sort of record that if obviously there's a demand.
Yeah. So I see we're kind of getting towards the end, I think,
Cool.
of the stream, but I see we've got a few more people dropped in. Got Signature Frags are with us. Hi, Christian. And did I see someone else? No, it was just Signature Frags dropped in.
Cool.
But what I'll do at the end of this is when the video is uploaded to YouTube, I will edit the description and put a link to the Digital Corals website, and we'll get some of your contact information that you're happy to share, Tony, so that if people are struggling, they can reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see if we can get some people to kind of that have seen this that are maybe a bit interested and want to share their tanks, maybe setting up an account and getting some corals registered. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be great. And thank you very much, Steve, for having me. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your patience this
No
week
worries.
and obviously going through all the hoops. Thanks for the opportunity. And if anybody has got any questions or anything to do with it, then obviously, easily accessible. Don't hesitate to get in contact.
Excellent. Well, There's no other questions in the chat or anything, so I think we've run out of things to talk about for 1 week. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Tony, for coming and teaching us all about digital corals as well. And I'll see everyone next time. See ya.